Senator Carper, you're recognized for your question.
Thanks very much. A warm welcome to our witnesses. Mr. Mohan, thank you very much for spending time with my staff and me earlier this week. We appreciated that. I'm recovering governor, former governor of Delaware, and last Vietnam veteran serving in the U.S. Senate. Not everybody knows this, but the first state to ratify the Constitution was Delaware. Before anybody else did, we did. And for one whole week, Delaware was the entire United States of America. Those were times were a little less complex than they are today. But I thought throughout the many years I'd now lived in Delaware a lot about our democracy, the formation of our country, and the formation of our government, and how we've rolled with the punches over many, many years. I never imagined how fragile our democracy could really be. Right after the Founding Fathers finished their work on the Constitution up in Philadelphia, Ben Franklin was leaving Independence Hall, as I recall, and he was asked by someone, a passerby, said, "What have you wrought? What have you wrought?" And he responded, "A republic if we can keep it. A republic if we can keep it." Churchill has since described democracy as the worst form of government devised by word of man, except for all the rest. It's really a hard way to govern, and we live it and feel it every day and see it every day. Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence largely, as you know, also wrote these words, and he said, "If the people know the truth, they won't make a mistake. If the people know the truth, they won't make a mistake." I think one of our challenges today, as we try hard to preserve our democracy, is people don't really know what the truth is, and they're not sure. And I'm not sure how to put that genie back in the bottle, but we need to certainly try. I have a question, if I could. I'd like to start off with Mr. Cox. And Mr. Cox, again, we thank you for joining us today. In your testimony, you mentioned that Meta has identified more than, I think, 1,000 militarized social movements and 270 white supremacist organizations on your platform, and removed some 2.3 million pieces of content from Facebook that are tied to organized hate. These statistics, which are deeply disturbing, are only from the second quarter, one quarter of this year, 2022. Well, I'm glad that y'all are tracking and removing harmful content. These statistics are indicative of a troubling trend of bad actors using social media to organize and mobilize their followers. To that end, Mr. Cox, what has Meta done to address the larger threat of these various groups or organizations and the content that they share? What more can and should be done?
Thank you, Senator. As I mentioned, we have community standards which outline that there is no place for terrorism, for militarized social movements, for violence-inducing conspiracy networks across our family of apps. We have 350 experts, folks who work with law enforcement to identify terrorist organizations, to identify VICNs, the acronym for violence-inducing conspiracy networks, to make sure that we have up-to-date information that we share with law enforcement in order to understand in a real-time basis which of these networks to prioritize and pay attention to. We publish our results quarterly. We publish a transparency report that outlines the prevalence of various categories of bad content. So just in case it's useful, around 2 in 10,000 pieces of content, 0.02%, is the prevalence of hate speech on the platform as of the most recent report from this last quarter. That's down from 50% 18 months ago. And each quarter we've released the report over the last several years, we've been able to improve on prevalence, which is a sign that our AI systems, our processes, our human systems, et cetera, are improving. And we believe that is the most important thing, in addition to having a transparent report on how we're actually doing on these numbers, so the public, so that outside experts, so that law enforcement, et cetera, can evaluate along with us.
All right, thank you for that. I like to say if it isn't perfect, make it better, so keep working on it. A question, if I could, for Mr. Sullivan on misinformation on Twitter. You stated, I believe, that Twitter makes clear in its guidelines that the promotion of disinformation is against your platform's policies. As you know, we've seen numerous examples, instances, if you will, of users sharing and disinformation during the coronavirus pandemic, previous U.S. elections, and the January 6th insurrection right here at this Capitol. Just to name a few. Could you take a moment, please, and explain for us what policy changes Twitter has made in light of the rapid spread of false information and how it's been effective?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Senator. And I appreciate the historical context. It adds gravity to what we're talking about today.
Winston Churchill also once said, the only thing, no, it's Harry Truman. Harry Truman once said, the only thing new in the world is the history we forgot or never learned. It's pretty good. Timely.
That's great. So these are serious matters. We have policies against COVID misinformation that have been evolving as we learn from what's happening in the world, and the same for the spread of misinformation. After the elections, well, our election work has been ongoing, but most recently we've been beefing up all of our policies against the spread of misinformation, and then we've tried to be more proactive as well. So for example, with what we call interstitials and prompts that give positive, valid, truthful information about things like voting, where you can vote, how when election ballots will be counted, and things like that. So that people not only debunk false information, but can receive vetted information in a way that feels more authoritative, so they know what's real and what's not real. There's always more to do, but our policies have been are always evolving, and our software is always evolving to catch these things earlier, so that people don't have to report them. We want to catch them before a person needs to even see it. And also adding these prompts and other user interface elements to prevent the spread of harmful information. So for example, not being able to retweet something or quote tweet something that is up against that line. So we're continuing to evolve the product every day. We acknowledge these are critical societal issues, as you've said. Thank you.
Yeah, if it isn't perfect, make it better. My time's expired. I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, to our ranking member, this is an invaluable hearing, timely hearing, and I just applaud your holding it and express our thanks to our witnesses for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.